We gotta change the U-joints on this truck. Look at this. That's in a real bad way. Front one's just as bad. Truck was here for a fuel pump, and we found out we got to change shocks too on the back end because one of them's broken in half. Now for this U-joint, it's real simple. You just take, I'm on the differential end of it here, we just take these bolts out of the caps here, these two bolts right here, and then the same up here, and then you push the drive shaft forward, it'll slide into the transmission a little bit, and just push it forward, and then this comes right off of here. And then you put a drain pan underneath the transmission up here because a little bit of oil is going to come out of the transmission. So then you pull the drive shaft out of the transmission, it just splines and slides right in there. Just pull it out, and then we'll take the drive shaft in the shop and change the U-joints. Got my drain pan in place, and it's going to be right underneath the tail housing of the transmission. Kind of in a hurry, so bear with me. Anyway, I got these clamps just about off. There's a 11mm or 7/16, whichever one you want to use. And I gotta try to pull the drive shaft down with one hand if I can, and I can't. I may need, if I can pop it out with this wrench, fine. If not, I gotta go get a pry bar, stick it in here and pop it out of there. Yeah, I gotta go get a pry bar. Okay, I got this truck up on jack stands because I had the fuel tank down, and this U-joint did not pry out of there. I think it might be the first time I've had one on a pickup truck that was that tight. And of course it's original and it's in real bad shape. But what I did was, while it's up on jacks, I can rotate. I mean, I put it in neutral and I can rotate this. And look here, this is aluminum, this drive shaft, and it's been hitting this yoke because the U-joint is that bad. But I took an extension, a 1/2-inch drive extension, and about a 3-inch hammer, and I was hitting this extension right in these U-joints. And this one, I finally, I was hitting them kind of like this, putting them there, and then hitting the back of that with a hammer. And I finally got to where I could see a little bit of an air gap back in here, and on both sides. I kept rotating it and working around. I probably spent 3 or 4 minutes doing that, and then finally I got enough of a gap that I could stick my big screwdriver in there, pry it, and pop it loose again. So it's out now. Well, I mean, this one's still sticking a little bit, but I'm going to get this down and then bring it in the shop. Okay, we want to put this in the vise, but not clamp it down. It's just sitting on there, but we cannot do it the way it is right now because the position the position it's in right now would be to take the U-joint off of this shaft here, and it'll leave it stuck in this little yoke. Well, we don't want that because the yoke by itself is too hard to change the U-joint. We need the support of the whole shaft. So we're going to flip this around, put it in this way, and basically what we got is just a place to mount this on here so that we can knock the U-joint out of it right there. And I'll show how to do that. So it's just going to sit on the vise like that loosely. Now, by this being an aluminum drive shaft, and it's shaped a little bit different, but I picked up the back end and put it on a stand over there. In fact, I might raise that stand up and bring it up a little higher. Either you're going to have clips like this or not. If there's no clips, like these little spring clip that's inside here, then you might have a plastic little button sticking out. And if that's the case and there's no clip, then you have to warm this up with a torch and press it out, because that's a plastic seal that won't come out without either extreme pressure or heating up the plastic. You can usually get this out with a wire cutter, or dikes, some people call it. And then we got to rotate this and go to the other side, get this one out. Now I lost my hammer. This is not a tech school. This is my shop at home. I do things the way I was taught how to do it when I was kind of like an apprentice a long time ago. Knock this out with a hammer. In a tech school, you have to press it out with expensive tools. Not necessary. But you make sure you never hit this bore where your U-joint goes in. You only hit it down here. And that's why this thing is sitting on here, so that it's got a block, so that it's going to stay there. It's not going to. But you got to be careful you don't hit it in the wrong place and damage it. That'll come right off there, but I don't want it to, because I need the U-joint to push that cap back off. There we go. Yeah, it's got a couple marks on it, but it's an old junk truck. That's just fine. We'll clean that up, put the new caps in there and the new U-joint. Now we got to get this one out. Actually, by this being aluminum, because it's softer and it's going to dent easier, I'm going to heat it up. It's going to grow faster and bigger than the steel, so that will make it a little bit safer to get it out of there without damaging the aluminum. Not going to go crazy with it, don't want to damage the temper. Just going to warm it up a bit, it'll help it out. With a steel drive shaft, I don't do that because I can hit it harder, but I don't want to hit it too hard with the aluminum. I'll tap on it a little bit, see how well it moves. It might move okay without heating it up. Yeah, it does. See, I didn't even need to heat it up. I should have tried that first. Got those U-joints out of there and got my parts matched up, because you got to match them up and make sure that your parts are right. While you're matching up parts, you always want to wash your hands so that you got clean hands when you're handling the boxes and the paperwork, so that if you have to take something back, you're not making a mess out of it. You got to look inside here and make sure that all of those little needle bearings are in there. If one's missing, and it's going to be too much trouble to take it back to the store, you might be able to salvage a bearing from your old U-joint if it's not beat up like these were, if it's the same size. Or sometimes even a piece of coat hanger wire, just a spacer. It's better than nothing, but you want to make sure they're all in there on all four caps, even if you have to improvise and find one to fill a space, because people will drop these and then a bearing will fly out of there, or more, several, and they don't find them all, and they will take it back to the store and lie. Anyway, both sides are the same Sometimes a U-joint can be bigger going this way than it is this way. It could have bigger caps on one side than it does on the other. If they're all the same, and they are on this one, then we can just put it together. Probably be a good idea to put a little bit of grease inside that. I'm going to use the grease that's in the U-joint because it will get greased anyway with the grease gun before he gets the truck back. Excuse my coughing today. Now before I get too awful tight with that, to make sure it's not going in crooked, I want to get this one started too. And make sure that this U-joint is going in on both sides. Now is where we take one of the old caps and put the smaller side towards the new U-joint. That one's on the floor. Got two of them here. And just kind of hold it in there. Keep it centered. Then press that one in. Carefully. You only want to go in far enough to put the new clips in it. Still needs to go more. Oh, that clip might go in there. I didn't have that cap that I was pushing this in with completely centered, and it kind of, the edge of it, once it got in there a little bit, it started pushing some of this aluminum down into the groove. Aluminum can be tricky to work with because it's soft and it will get damaged easy. Oh, this one's not going in there. Looks like they gave me the wrong size clips. These clips are too big. Have to use the old ones. Okay, that side's done. Now we got to do the same thing over here. Get back on the video when that's done. Okay, I got both of those clips in on both sides. Now, I like this to be a little bit looser than that. That's a little bit tight for my preference. So here's what I'm going to do. Lay that across here like that. I'm going to whack this with a hammer. That loosened it up some. But if you notice, the center of this clip is kind of pushing out a little bit now. So I'm going to go to the other side and do it over there. I still like it to be just a little bit looser than that. But then these caps are a little bit tight. We're loose enough, I think. Now we got to do the same thing on this. I'm going to start one in there. You got to wiggle this back and forth and make sure that you're able to get into both caps on both sides. Get that centered in there. Make sure that it's started in both caps on both sides a little bit before you put the squeeze to it. Or you can really damage the U-joint before it gets in there. You don't have to worry about squeezing it in too far. That won't happen without putting this cap on it. I'm glad these old clips were good. When I used to work on cars all the time, it was a long time ago, but I had U-joint pieces, caps, bearings, and clips. I had dozens of them all over the vise table. It wasn't this vise, it was another place. And the reason I kept them like that is because every now and then I'd need to borrow a piece to finish a job. Had to put a used piece in because something like this, either they put the wrong size clips in there, or a bearing was missing, or something like that. And so I just saved all of those. But then they went to front wheel drive cars and I didn't see U-joints anymore. Okay, now this one is a little bit stiff. So remember what we got to do? Loosen that up. Do it again over here. That's a lot better. Now this end we only got to change this because these here get clamped into the differential. So same procedure as we did on the front end. And then as far as putting the drive shaft in, you just put it in the way you pulled it out. Alright, thanks for watching.